Our next speaker is Joe Zweier. He's from Blacklick. He came here in the 7th grade, and his older sister, Cherry, graduated last year.
In the short 17 years I've been in this world now, I realize there's one simple thing I have an extremely difficult time saying. This is, I'm sorry. I began to wonder why I have such difficulties just issuing an apology to someone. Take for the other day as an example. I was coming home from school, just like any normal day. Well, actually, I had made great time as I got home at 3:28 rather than my typical 3:48. Eager to start my homework, I got up to my garage door, twisted the knob, but unfortunately, the door didn't open. Seeing that I didn't have my house key, I needed to think of some place to go. I called my mom and asked her what she thought I should do. She told me to come to her dental practice and study in her office there. That sounded reasonable to me at the time, but little did I know I was about to make a fool's mistake. I was greeted by someone unfamiliar, the hygienist. She told me that my mom had me come in so she could clean my teeth and check for any possible cavities. No, I was thinking, I fell for a setup. I tried to play wise guy, asking the hygienist for some credentials before she worked on my teeth. And I smugly said that I go to Stone Ridge Dental Care for my dental needs because it's fancier. I ended up acting like a real jerk, a decision I would later regret. Now came the tough part, admitting I was sorry. All that came to my mind was excuses for why I acted the way I did. These excuses have become a security blanket for me. Many of you are familiar with that hideous dent on the right side of my car. It took me a long time to realize that it wasn't the garage's fault for hitting my car, rather my fault for hitting the garage. Many psychiatrists believe that it's difficult to apologize because it brings us eye to eye with guilt. Guilt is one of the most uncomfortable emotions that can eat away at one's serenity if not dealt with. The art of issuing an apology can be very uneasy. This has led to a genre of apologies called the pseudo-apology, created to try and ease the tension. Some of the most common are, I'm sorry you misunderstood, which implies that the offended is too dumb to understand what the apologizer meant. I'm sorry if I offended you, which implies that the offense is the offended person's fault for being overly sensitive, and this is normally the one we use when we tell a joke that goes too far. Finally, I'm sorry you feel that way is used to stall a predicament by creating an impasse. All these are frequently used today, but none of them are sincere. Society today has become so removed from the genuine apology that websites like www.theperfectapology.com have formed to try and help people issue a genuine apology. This seems ridiculous. Shouldn't people know how to seek amends when they mess up? The influence today's society has on us doesn't exactly praise apologizing. Many of us have probably heard the song Too Late by Timbaland, as about a year or two ago it was all the radio would play. Anyways, the main line of the song is, it's too late to apologize. Surely this kind of music can't have a good effect on its listeners. Athletes today, like Marion Jones, try to cover up their scandals, and only when pushed to the edge due to some form of scientific evidence do they come clean. America's pastime, baseball, is covered with lies. Guys like Mark McGwire and Barry Bonds would hire a team of 1,000 defense lawyers just to hide their wrongdoings. Just the other night, President Obama got up on the Jay Leno show and started talking about how bad his bowling game is. He said he bowled a 129 and added, it's like the Special Olympics. He said this because he tried to get a laugh from people. 20 years ago, his comment probably wouldn't have received such scrutiny. But in a world today filled with political correctness, you can't make that mark anymore because you run the risk of offending a lot of people. I didn't find this funny because on a good day, I'm lucky to bowl a 50. Obama took the right steps to make amends by immediately contacting Tim Shriver, the chairman of the Special Olympics, letting him know that his comment was inappropriate. Shriver appreciated Obama's apology because he felt it was moving, thoughtful, and sincere. A true apology comes from the heart. It isn't taken from a website like I mentioned before, but from someone's authentic sentiments. Today, however, it is more difficult to measure a true apology. Due to the immense public pressure, it can be difficult to tell if someone is actually sorry because they truly mean it or because they just want to get the media off their back. One of the most rewarding aspects of giving an apology is the chance to learn from your mistake. If someone is actually sorry, they're not going to repeat the same mistake again. But I have a hard time believing people like Don Imus and Charles Barkley, because although they appear to be sorry for what they have done, after a couple of months, they're back in the headlines with more controversial activity. New studies show that empathy is an important part to an apology. In my situation, I realized I mistreated the hygienist, and I felt bad because I probably made her feel awful by questioning her credentials and being a wise guy. We develop feelings of compassion when a genuine apology is issued. Often it seems like arrogance is an easier path to take instead of apologizing. Arrogance is precisely the cause of some of the larger scale problems in our nation's history. I think of the McCarthy trials, when Senator McCarthy deemed innocent people communists, undoubtedly ruining their credibility and for some their careers. When the public finally realized he was a phony and denounced him, he did not seek forgiveness. Rather, he continued to lead a deceitful attack against communism, and he started hitting the bottle harder than ever. To say the least, an apology to all those whose lives he had negatively impacted would have been in order. In another situation, President Nixon in the Watergate scandal showed the extreme reluctance to own up to his own misdeeds. Nixon's refusal to apologize showed he had little humility. To me, politicians, yes, politicians and not celebrities, should be setting the moral tone in our society. In a mildly utopian vision I have, politicians would own up to their mistakes, seek retribution, and learn from these errors, just like Obama did. I believe it is critical to realize that this isn't the case and understand that sometimes the key apologies just aren't made. People aren't machines. We're not programmed to always act kindly, which can result in our mistakes. These mistakes have proven to be inevitable throughout the course of history. What is not, though, is what we do to fix them. It takes courage to issue an apology, but it's a necessary step to become better all-around human beings. At Challenge Day, I witnessed an apology that I had absolutely nothing to do with, but just seeing it made me feel happy for both people involved. I think the ability for people to overcome a stumble in a relationship is a great achievement. When someone apologizes, we get to see them on a more human level. I would like to leave you all with a quote. As Lynn Johnson says, an apology is the superglue of life. It can repair just about anything. Thank you.